Hello everyone, and welcome back to Classic Comics. Today I'm reviewing the latest graphic novel by Richard Meyer, aka your boy Zach of Diversity in Comics. This is Jawbreakers Grand Bizarre. Now, I assume you know who he is, but if you don't, Richard Meyer is a YouTuber who became a big success in crowdfunding comics and critiquing modern comics on his YouTube channel. He's a big influence on my channel, in truth. He said that he got started because he watched a YouTuber by the name of Captain Cummings, who was a military guy and a comic book guy who was critiquing woke comics, and he thought, well, that doesn't look that hard, so he started doing it himself. And that's pretty much what happened with me. I watched his channel and pretty much got started for the same reason. I'm a military guy and a comic book guy, and I saw what he was doing, and I thought, yeah, it doesn't look that hard, so I started doing it. Now, I've reviewed Meyer's earlier Jawbreakers graphic novels, and I'll put a link to those up in the corner if you want to check those out. This is his latest graphic novel, Jawbreakers Grand Bizarre, and wow. So this was interesting. I'll say that. So first, let me talk about the art. First of all, there's a really nice cover by Kyle Ritter. I also have Kyle Ritter's graphic novel, Starblades, which I'll be doing a review of somewhere down the line. Ritter is just absurdly talented, and this cover is really nice. The interior art is by Aaron, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Alfesh? I'll say Alfesh. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. His art is pretty good. His figures are a little stiff in places, but overall, it's good stuff. The storytelling from panel to panel is a bit confusing, but honestly, I'm putting that down more to Meyer's story rather than the artwork. So this is a story about the origin of the Jawbreakers, how they first met and how they became a team, sort of. It's set in Afghanistan. I'm not sure when exactly, back in the 2000s, I guess, but no dates are given. So we begin with Silkworm, who's just come off of some kind of a mission. What was the mission? I don't know. We aren't told. It's not really that important. He meets up with his government handler, Killswitch. The brass are apparently upset because Silkworm has been charging the government for the equivalent of 20 men, and he rationalizes this by saying, well, I have the strength of 20 men. But the brass aren't happy, and they want to see him. But Killswitch suggests he get a haircut first. So then we cut to a trailer where a bunch of grunts are waiting for their turn to get a haircut. And this is in a combat zone, right? So generally guys are just getting a buzz cut, you know, or a high and tight or whatever, and then moving out and making room for the next guy. It's an assembly line, basically. Just like the chow line or the line for anything in a military combat zone, really. And these guys have been waiting for half an hour, and their NCO shows up and goes in to see what the holdup is, and Silkworm is in there getting the royal treatment. He's getting shampooed and everything. And the NCO, Sergeant Schneider, and Silkworm start mixing it up. Then we cut to the desert at night, and this, the Grand Bizarre appears. Apparently, it seems like it's kind of like Brigadoon. If you don't know what that is, it's a legend about this village that appears once every century or something like that for a day and then disappears again. There's a musical about it. I've never seen it, so I don't know the details, but it's like that. This market appears, I guess, for a day once a century, and it's inhabited by demons or something. Again, I mean, on the back cover, he tells you that once a century the Grand Bizarre appears. But as far as it being just a day or for 24 hours, I'm just kind of guessing at that. Again, he never really says. Now, we go back to Silkworm, who meets with Killswitch. And Killswitch tells him, don't worry, everything's been smoothed over. provided that he follows orders from now on. He's then shown that he's going to be working with these guys, a group of mercenaries called the Dirt Dragons. And Silkworm, I guess, has worked with them before, and he doesn't like them, so he attacks them, calling them murderous scum. And then Killswitch is able to, like, switch them off. We found out they've got this stuff in them called Smart Blood, and that allows Killswitch to control the chemical reactions in their body. And then they're heading to a rifle range for some training. And then we learn that, so basically their blood, it's programmed so if they leave they're not allowed to leave the base. If they leave the base, then their blood will explode, or they'll spontaneously combust or something. So Silkworm drives this van deliberately through the perimeter fence off the base, of course, which causes them all to explode. It blows them up along with the whole van. Now, he's able to protect himself with his power, and Killswitch is, he's like immortal or something like that. Again, we're not told this. I know this because Meyer said this in one of his videos when he was first developing Jawbreakers, but again, you're not told in the book. You just... Anyway, so then Silkworm's in trouble again, and they're taking him to the commander of the base. And now Sergeant Schneider, he and those soldiers that we saw earlier, I guess they're on a mission, and they're in some kind of trouble. And the commander says, "We've got reinforcements on the way, Sergeant." And Schneider says, "Tell them to turn back, sir. Hell is here." And then there's no more communication. So Killswitch says, this is just the kind of situation we could use Silkworm for. And the commander, and again, I don't really know if this is the commander. I'm just guessing. We're never told. We never get a name of this guy or who he is. He seems to be in charge, so I'm just kind of intuiting that he's the commander. And anyway, he says, this guy's a liability. I want him on the first flight out of here. And then he's put on a C-130 back to the States. And then he decides to bail out just randomly. I guess, again, we don't really know. I mean, I get the impression he wants to go and help Schneider, maybe, but I'm just kind of intuiting that. It's never really made clear. So he opens up the back sort of entrance and bails out in midair. And of course, he doesn't have a parachute, but he doesn't need one because with his psionic powers, he can create a parachute. And his power is he can create constructs, kind of like Green Lantern, I think, but it's more limited. He's not as powerful as Green Lantern is. And by tremendous luck, by coincidence, he lands like right at the front door of this Grand Bizarre thing. And Cuffs is there. And remember, this is like their origin, so they haven't... they seem to know each other, but they're not a team yet. And Cuffs is at the front entrance, and he's trying to get in. Now, why is Cuffs there? I mean, and how did he know about this place? How did he find it? Don't know. He's just there. So anyway, Silkworm lands on the guards at the front. Again, he literally lands right at the front door of the place. I mean, just by coincidence. It's okay. So after taking out the guards, he grabs a weapon and he heads in, and then Cuffs follows him. Then we get inside the place, and then we see Devil Dog. And he's leading this hooded figure. And this hooded figure turns out to be Osama bin Laden, of all people. So I guess this is back before Osama died. And I don't know why he's brought him here. I don't know. And then Devil Dog just kills him, literally punches a hole through his skull. Just kills the guy. And then a couple of guys in suits show up, and they're like, what the hell are you doing? You just killed the asset. What is going on? I don't know. But they try to arrest him, but he overpowers them and cuffs them. Again, just no explanation for any of this. Then we go back to Silkworm. and he approaches a guy and tries to get some information. And then the guy's, what will you trade for? And he's like, nothing, just give me an answer. So then they attack him. They call him a free trader, which in this place is bad, apparently. And then he and Cuffs are thrown into this pit. You know, it's kind of like a gladiator pit. They're thrown in there to fight each other. So Silkworm wakes up and he's got a chain on him. And Cuffs is at the other end of the chain. You know, they're bound together. And they can't break the chain. And, you know, Silkworm's, he's got superhuman strength. So he's like, you know, what is this chain made of? And Cuffs says, it's not the chains. Look at the wall. Silkworm looks at the wall and says, Negastones. Okay, what are Negastones? I have no idea. But anyway, you know, they have to fight each other. So Silkworm's like, okay, well, whatever. And he just attacks Cuffs. And they got a pretty good action sequence here. And Silkworm gets the best of Cuffs. And then Cuffs says, you know, they've got my partner down here for sale. I'm not leaving without him. And so Silkworm then whispers something to him. And then Cuffs puts him in a belly-to-back suplex. And apparently breaks his neck and kills him. Because this guy says, he's dead, you win. So then they take them out of the arena. And then this, you know, cocoon forms around Silkworm. And then we go back to Devil Dog, and these guys in the suits are looking for him. Who are these guys? I don't know. I mean, I'm guessing there's some kind of government agents, you know, like CIA, something. I don't know. And then he's passing by, Devil Dog is passing by this tent, and this woman comes out of nowhere and grabs him and says, you know, pulls him in and says, in here. And she says, by the rules of the Grand Bizarre, you are now in my debt. I guess because she helped him. I guess. I don't know. And she says her name is Valverde. And again, she's got this suit on, so I guess she's some kind of a superhuman. I don't know. And she says, I need you to help me get the stem soul. And then I'll show you how to get out of here. And she says, I need the stem soul because, you know, she wanted to buy it, but the price is too high. She can't afford it. So she wants him to help her steal it. So they go to where the stem soul is, and apparently she needs the stem soul because her daughter was born without a soul. And the stem soul is her only hope. Okay, I don't know. But anyway, they go, and even though this thing's got an incredibly high price on it, and presumably that means it's valuable, there's just this one guy guarding it for some reason. And they easily overpower him, and they take the stone. It's this big glowing stone. Then we go back to Silkworm and Cuffs, and Silkworm is alive again. Again, no explanation given. I don't know. I guess the guy could heal or resurrect himself. I don't know. And then they're attacked by these undead-looking guys. But while they're fighting them, Silkworm notices that one of them is wearing dog tags. So he thinks that these are the soldiers he was looking for, and they've been changed somehow. But they start a brawl, and then they spot Knife Hand, who is Cuff's partner. So then they free him. Then we cut to Killswitch and Hell Priest, and they're driving through the desert, and Hell Priest is talking, I guess, about the bazaar, and Killswitch is asking him about it, and he says, Urtex in multiple cultures describe this event. It has recurred throughout human history. What transpires there, no one truly knows. Each instance of the Grand Bizarre ends the same. No one escapes alive. The sand swallows everything. And when the dust settles, there's one voice alone in the desert, laughing. Okay. We cut back to the bazaar, and some kind of portal opens up, I guess. And then a bunch of people come through it. And then they just Well, I'll get to it. So then we've got Devil Dog and Valverde, and she's got like a cable grapple gun, kind of like Batman, so they shoot it up into the ceiling, and I guess they're going to use that to exit. And then Cuffs and Knife Hand and Silkworm are just suddenly there too, out of nowhere. And then these guys that came through the portal, they just start shooting everybody. And one of these guys that came through the portal, this guy is another Osama bin Laden. There's another one. And he says, my doppelganger has been murdered. The deal is off. Kill them all. What is going on? I have no idea. And Devil Dog says they're from an antimatter universe. Their rounds explode on contact with matter from our universe. Okay. And then he throws some fruit at them, I think. And I guess because the fruit is positive matter and they're negative matter, it makes them explode. So Osama, negative Osama here, and these other people all blow up. And I mean, it's 2 pages. I mean, they appear and then like 2 pages later, they're all dead. And it's like, what is going on? What? I have no idea. And then I guess they say the place is collapsing, folding in on itself. So they use her, Valverde's cable that she shot up through the roof. There's this hole in the roof. And so they start climbing out. And they get out, and they've brought the soldiers Silkworm was looking for with them. And then this creature shows up, and she's, I guess, the leader of the bazaar or something. And she shows up and she's threatening them. And then Hell Priest and Kill Switch literally are just suddenly there. They show up out of nowhere. And then she tries to convince, Hell Priest tries to convince her to let everybody go. And she says, well, I might, why not, if you'll go on a date with me. What? And then she's going to kill everybody. And he calls her Mistress Azaz, so I guess that's her name. And then he says, okay, I'll go on a date with you. And then it just sort of ends. And then the soldiers, they turn back. And then there's kind of this denouement where we have Hell Priest in Paris with this woman who I think is supposed to be that creature, Mistress Azaz, and they're on a date, and then it just ends. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, then we get another Jawbreaker story. This is called Sacred Blood, and this is by story and art by Marco Cannella. The Jawbreakers are sent to retrieve the son of some South American president. The son has been kidnapped by a group of revolutionaries. And these revolutionaries, they have some mystic powers because they're in league with some kind of female mystic entity, which, I mean, is kind of like the last story, where the big villain is this female magic being. And they've got these guys. There's a bunch of these guys in this revolutionary group, and they're just obvious Bane knockoffs. They have this gadget on that you hit the button and it like juices them up, just like Bane. And they've got this floating headquarters up in the sky, which that's pretty good for a group of like South American revolutionaries. I mean, they must have some serious dough. And the Jawbreakers, they assault the place. And then the revolutionaries, they like crash the thing into a mountain in order to kill everybody. And their leader, his name is, I think, Mendoza. He takes the kid and bails out. And Silkworm and I think it's Hell Priest, they go after the kid, and inside this mountain, I guess there's a place. They've been getting power by sacrificing people, by performing human sacrifice to this mystic creature, I think. And Here we see like sort of this sort of creature who's sort of the combined souls of all these people who've been killed. And they defeat her. It's actually kind of confusing too. But they do defeat her, and I mean it's okay. Now the last story features Nexus. And it's kind of cool seeing Nexus again. I haven't read a story with Nexus for years. You know, that character, he was kind of popular back in like the late 80s, maybe early 90s. It's only 7 pages long. So it's really hard to give much of an opinion on it. The art is solid. I've always just liked Nexus's character design. He's just a cool looking character, if nothing else. So, yeah, it's only 7 pages long. It's hard to really give much of an opinion. It's a backup story. It's okay. And then there's some pinups, you know, kind of a pinup gallery. And, I mean, they're okay. And then kind of a preview of Jawbreakers Forever, which is the next one he's got coming. So I wanted to like this. I really did. But this thing is just a complete mess. It doesn't make any sense. It seems more like an extended dream sequence of some sort rather than a proper story. Characters and concepts get introduced without any explanation, and none of them get developed. As a result, the story feels very half-baked. You know, I mean, what are negastones? I don't know. I still don't know. Now, to be clear, this is something that I've noted in my reviews of Meyer's previous Jawbreakers graphic novels, and I'll put a link again to those reviews up in the corner if you want to check them out. But those previous graphic novels had very simple, straightforward stories in them. You didn't need to understand a whole lot to get the story. But this time he's juggling about half a dozen different plot lines. You've got the plot with Silkworm trying to rescue the missing soldiers, what I would call the main plot. Then the plot with Cuffs trying to find Knife Hand. You've got the Devil Dog Osama plot, which, if you can tell me what the hell's going on there, I'd love to hear it. The plot with Valverde trying to get the stem soul thing because her child was born without a soul. Okay. And then there's the plot with Hell Priest and Mistress Azaz, which basically amounts to about 3 pages of story. It's just a confusing mish-mash of plot lines, but it isn't entertaining so much as it is just baffling. It really lost me when this second Osama shows up. It's just like he and these other people just appear out of a portal, and he's screaming, "My doppelganger's been murdered. The deal is off." Okay, what deal? With who? Why are there 2 Osamas? Who was the other one that got killed? And just 2 pages later, he's killed too. It's like, what the hell is going on? This thing is just, I don't even know how else to describe it. And I have to give this just a thumbs down. I mean, it's just, it really would have benefited from more setup of the various plot lines. For example, it would have helped if we saw Knife Hand being captured and why he was captured. Why Hell Priest shows up out of nowhere. If we had seen some backstory on Valverde so we could actually care about this kid she mentions. But we never get any of that. Instead, the first 12 pages are mainly just spent showing Silkworm being an asshole. I mean, on the second page, we learn that Silkworm is in trouble with the brass. Then on page 7, we're told, oh, that's all smoothed over. You're not in trouble anymore. Okay. Then he blows up this truck full of people, and then he's in trouble again, and then they put him on a plane out of there. What was the point of all that? The story could just have continued at the start with him in trouble, and they decide he's more trouble than he's worth, and he's being sent back to America. Then instead of this mess with the dirt dragons, which goes nowhere, Meyer could have spent some time setting up the other plot lines in the story instead of just dropping characters into the middle of the story with no explanation. And this whole thing of him blowing up a truck full of people. I mean, what the hell? a principle of storytelling is that you show, don't tell. And again, we're told that these dirt dragon guys are murderous scum, but we never see that. So when Silkworm kills them all, it's kind of hard to believe that what he's doing is justified in any way. A little backstory could have really helped here, at least telling us something specific about what they've done instead of just vaguely telling us, oh, well, they're scum. Okay. You know, in comics, there used to be this notion, and it's kind of gone out of fashion in comics, I guess, that every comic is somebody's first comic. And therefore, you need to set things up. You need to explain things to the reader, who the characters are, what their powers are. And the same thing with the villains. You'll see that all the time in old comics, you know, where in every issue of Spider-Man, you know, you'd have the little box up in the corner that would introduce Spider-Man and tell you who he is, how he got his powers, and stuff like that. And the same thing with the villains. And Richard Meyer has even mentioned this on his channel in his videos. It's something that really was needed here. I've read the previous Jawbreakers graphic novels, and I mean, even I'm confused. I can only imagine how lost someone who hasn't read a Jawbreakers story before would be. And if you've read the previous novels and you've read Grand Bizarre, let me know what you thought of this in the comments. You know, did you read the previous graphic novels, and did that make it easier for you to read this? Let me know in the comments, and also please, you know, if you would, please like this video and sub to the channel. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. So I guess I'll just leave it here and, say, I'll see you all next time, and thanks for watching.